And so we were talking to Marshall Soell, who is on the scene at the RNC. Marshall, why don't you tell us how things are going on over there?
There's all kinds of things going on, but first, let me bring up a point that the other guests had come in and brought up Gary Johnson, and I was in some conversations, and they're bringing up that Mitt Romney is actually lobbying to pay off states to drop Johnson from the ballot and not allow him into the debates. So look for that kind of things, those kind of things to be going on. But now let's segue right into the Republican National Police State Convention, where they got to show off all their nice little toys and mechanisms of tyranny. I mean, when I got there, there were bike cops, National Guard cops, people with AR-15s on their backs, or I guess the M16s would be the military grade, and they had, beanbag shotguns. It was any excuse to harass people. And after walking through, we went through the.
Can you get away from that? Whatever's going on there, could you walk away from that?
Yeah, it's actually in the. There we go. You have to go through 3 checkpoints to get into the RNC, and it's all like something out of somebody getting decontaminated, like decontamination tents is what it looked like, but they're AC'd and whatnot. But after going through the 3 different shakedowns, you get inside, and there's nothing but Romney murals across the hallways. You would have thought they'd already selected their nominee, but we're there to select the nominee, not to have it hand-fed to us. So the coordination went well for Romney. Some things that came up that not many know of is that none of the delegates were allowed to vote. All the numbers that you saw presented were numbers based off the primary vote. Not one delegate voted, and even Romney delegates were upset because they weren't allowed to go back home and say, hey, I cast my vote for Romney. It was just broken off like that. They had a motion to make it to where Paul would have to have 8 states instead of 5 in order to get the nomination. And if anybody caught it on CNN or any of the RNC televised event, you would have heard that it was a clear nay that won against the yays, and that would cut off the strength for the delegates for more than 5 states. That's why you didn't hear them bringing up how much Paul got, and that's why you heard us reciting what numbers he got. Even from the states that he'd won the majority, they would just recite what Romney had won, and it's just been a dog and pony show. And another thing was Rule 12, which is the RNC changing it to where they could change the rules by a 3/4 majority vote without even being presented before the delegation. And
so Marshall, hold on, stop right there real quick. Okay, so what are with all these last minute rule changes that are going on? I mean, did we hear right that it went from something like you need a plurality in 5 states is usually how it is, and all of a sudden the last second they changed it to 8, even though
they did that prior to changing the rules, and then there was a lot of ruckus coming up saying, hey, what's the point in having rules if you're just going to not even follow them whenever they're presented? So then they took it upon a vote to try and make it to where they did make it, even though it was clear that it didn't pass. Because whenever you can't really tell if it's yay or nays that won, you would call for a roll call vote, which is showing a show of hands or by a tally to know which side got the majority. And it was even clear from viewers that I'd spoken to that the nays had won. And they cut it from 5 and they're making it 8, which we had a plurality of 6 states that signed on the petition.
Sure. So, Marshall, I have a question for you. When it comes to something like this, I mean, what was the reasoning behind changing it from 5 to 8? What was the public reason? And we know the behind the scenes reason, obviously, to keep Ron Paul out. What was the public reasoning for it on part of the RNC?
I didn't quite get the public reasoning, and they were pretty blatant about, they didn't care that they were stepping on people's toes. They disenfranchised even Romney supporters by the way things were handled unfairly. So I couldn't tell you about off the bat what they had publicly said because nothing really came out about it. It was kind of like unspoken. They knew what they were trying to do, and everybody else could see what was going on too. And it was obvious.
Yeah, I don't think they even said why they changed the rule. I think they just did it. And I mean, we all know why they did. But
okay, right here. Listen, this is pretty much what they're saying here. Tennessee Committee man John Ryder pushed the rule change to eliminate, quote, distractions on the convention floor in an effort to, quote, try to create a more streamlined convention procedure that better reflects the realities, he said. Wow. Unbelievable. That is insane. Insane.
It said to get rid of the residues of the 19th century.
Wow.
Okay.
Well,
on that rule 12, where the RNC was changing it to where they don't even have to bring the votes to the floor in order to change the rules. That's a big thing. And then also Rule 16 was to make it to where every delegate was bound and can be ousted by the candidate without being recalled. Meaning, like, Mitt Romney can say, "Hey, I don't like that delegate. He's not with me, so let's kick him out and get another one in there." That was Rule 16, which they were passing. And even your neocon delegates were like, "Hey, that ain't right."
And he was getting booed as he was reading that, right? Or a bunch of nays?
Right. Even said the Texas RNC chairman spoke out against these measures, the Rule 12 and Rule 16, because what it's going to do is going to cut off the head of the Texas delegation, because Texas delegation is about 6%, and what it's going to do is knock it down to like more of a 1.5 to 3%, give or take, because it's just getting passed. So we're still trying to find out what they're doing, and some other things. Ministeri, we appointed him as a state delegation, and the RNC was trying to figure out why we voted for him, because they thought Ministeri was one of them. Well, little did they know that Ministeri was on Ron Paul's legal team back in 2008, and that's the whole reason we put him in. And we had one of the most fair conventions that anybody had ever seen. I even had older people that had been in the process for longer. They were sitting around, they were crying because they were so happy to see the way the convention was held. A lot of interesting things going on, but right now I'm going to segue into some information that I got when I was talking to some people that are in Ron Paul's campaign staff. I'm going to leave some anonymity for this one. So this person had worked for Paul for over 10 years, well over 10 years, and witnessed it, and has photo evidence of ballot stuffing in New Mexico, and it was done right in front of him. And he saw it. He took the photo evidence of it, and all this may come to fruition if we can get him to bring it out. Also, Jesse Benton took money from Romney at the same time that Paul backed off the advertising here in Texas. There was a contribution made to Jesse Benton on behalf of Romney's campaign, and also Jesse Benton was missing for 3 days, and this person could not get a hold of Jesse Benton to go over how they were planning on doing the Texas advertising and the revolution in Texas.
Wow.
And and he wouldn't contact him, and he ended up this person ended up just quitting, saying, "You know what? Well, if this is the way it's going to go, I'm not going to do it." And Jesse Benton goes off and tells Paul that this person had quit because Texas was too much for him. And so Paul calls him up and says, "Hey, everything okay? I heard that, Texas is too much for you." And he said, "No, that's not what was said. I backed off because, Jesse Benton's throwing in the towel for you and making it all the more harder to do the process here." I mean, this person had even got has evidence of Jesse Benton rubber stamping over $5,000 of yard signs, merchandise up for the Paul campaign, still in packaging, being sent to the landfill that was meant for Texas.
Wow. Hold on a second here. And where is this coming from? I mean, I know you said you didn't want to name the person, but this is somebody inside the Ron Paul campaign?
That has been with Paul for over 10 years. I'll even say over 15 years.
Wow. Okay, so Jesse Benton, in effect, is some kind of saboteur for the campaign, which a lot of people were really starting to feel, especially exactly when it came to Texas, when he would not campaign in Texas and California, and a lot of people thought Benton was behind it, and I'm guessing from your source, it is clear that he was. Yes,
Jesse Benton, in all fairness, he is a campaign, he does assist in campaigns, he's allowed to give political assistance and all, but to give political assistance against your opponent, especially if your grandfather's opponent, I mean your father-in-law's opponent, it's beyond me, beyond anybody.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Listen, Marshall, we're going to come back with you on the other side of this quick break. This is Truth Exposed Radio on the Logos Radio Network. We're going to get to some of your phone calls coming up in this next segment as well. This is breaking news here on Truth Exposed Radio. Check us out on Facebook, Truth Exposed Radio, truthexposedradio.com. We're going to be live for the next 2 hours. Be right back.